week. But the thing about this racial unrest was very, very rampant when I became a teenager that I recognized. Guys were going off to Vietnam. My brother, his friends, some friends out of high school, they were all going to Vietnam. But we still had racial unrest in North Carolina and South Carolina. How did we address that? I was segregated because I went to the all black school. My friends now were segregated because they went to all white school, and they were all that separated us was one street. One street. I lived in Color Town, and they lived downtown. One street separated us. We all worked at somebody's farm because we were in the farm. So that's where we made our money. Tobacco. Y'all even know what cotton looked like? I asked that last. Y'all see cotton? I mean, real cotton, not the cotton t-shirts. I picked that after school every day. That cotton was raising. I was out there in the fields. That's where my money came from, my income. I can remember the first red coat I bought. I was a high school student. I bought my first red long coat. I thought that was the bomb because I paid for it with that money I raised. I earned while picking and blueberries and putting up tobacco. Come home with green lime all over your fingers. And I can get mine done. Pretty good, don't But see, you can't. I didn't start there. I didn't start there. I had to go all the way back to those days in high school, where after 11 years being in the same school, being ripped apart downtown, my senior year, y'all leaving Cornerstone. Y'all got to go down to Douglasburg High School. Y'all don't even know where that is, but that's down in North Carolina. How would you like that? Not very much, I don't think. Leaving Cornerstone. After being here for some of you have been here all you since first grade, I'm sure. But being told you had to go downtown. For my senior year, I wanted to go downtown. And when you get in class, you raise your hand. Smart children. We had very good teachers. You raise your hand and nobody answered. Miss Keezer would not answer me or let me answer the question. She wouldn't recognize me as a student in her classroom. How do you think that made me feel? First, I'm separated from my friends. I got to go downtown to school. And now you don't recognize me as a student. One man came into our town, and Martin Luther King, y'all know who he is. He came into our town. I'm a radical. My mother used to make me, I didn't tell this before, made me pull the switches off the thing to spank me with. Switches off the tree. Go get your switch. Because I was a radical. Because I didn't want everything to stay the same. My mother was okay with it. She worked downtown in those houses that we had to walk. If I go to see where she was, I had to go to the back door. I couldn't go to the front door. And this is how I was raised as a teenager. When I came into integration, was that 12th grade, Martin Luther King came to town. We all marched out of that downtown high school, sat on the front lawn, and he was going to march to Fayetteville, North Carolina, which is 24 miles from Roseboro. In the middle of Fayetteville, and you can go and Google it, Fayetteville, North Carolina. The first thing you're going to see on that Google website is the Market House. This big building sitting in the middle of town. That's where they sold slaves. Cape Fear River runs north to south. And the Cape Fear River was area of commerce. That's where all the trade came through. Slave trade came through. Everything that wanted to be sold, cotton gin, would bring that through Cape Fear River and into Fayetteville, North Carolina. Well, he was going to march that day, and my girlfriend and I said, "Are you going?" And I said, "If I go, Mama will turn me up when I get back home, but I'm going anyway." We walked 24 miles that day to Fayetteville, North Carolina, with Martin Luther King. I thought that was the law. Did I know what I was marching for? Not really. But I know I didn't want to be down there at the downtown school. I was being here at the colored school for 11 years and being away from my friends. We all had the same teachers from first grade on up to 12th. But it was the beginning of knowledge. Y'all, I'm sure have learned about the awakening. It was just like waking up to what was actually going on around me. I'd seen the Ku Klux Klan in front of my granddad's house. But I didn't know what Grandpa was about. They didn't hurt him. They were just men in white clothes. Running crosses at night. Very spiritual, you know. I didn't know what they were doing. But I knew something when I began to march with Martin Luther King. Something was going on that I had to be a part of. And that was my awakening. I didn't feel that you owed me anything. I knew that I had to work for it. The white folks downtown didn't owe me anything because I had everything I needed in Colored Town. I never went hungry. I had food and clothing and everything. And because my great grandparents were slaves, it mean that I was entitled, to use the word entitlement, I wasn't entitled to any more than what I earned. And I think that's what some of us think today. That y'all's grandparents and great grandparents owe us something. No, you don't really. We all owe each other a change in the way we treat each other. That we owe each other. Monetary, no. Because I will earn my money to belt me that uh, and then we still got temp tags on. They ain't got real tags yet. I had to earn that. But I didn't earn it by thinking your daddy owed me something. I had to go out there and work for it. No, I'm not entitled. I'm not entitled to anything that I don't. I went to college. W University is where I graduated college. I go my own business right here in Papillion, across from the what is it, Sarpy County Papillion School office buildings. That little brick building that sits there next to that used to be my uh, young women's home. I owned that. I did that, but I didn't think you needed to give it to me. I had to go out and work for that. When I became the first black executive officer at Sarpy County Courthouse, I worked for that. I didn't think anybody gave that to me. And I was telling the last class, because of all this enlightenment that I got after Martin Luther King came down there, I know it's going to be time for y'all to go home. But I knew that I had to wake up and learn to know that I had to get stuff. If I wanted it, I have to earn it. And I have to be educated. And I have to know what was going on. I can't sit in Roseboro, North Carolina and know what's going on in Omaha if I don't get online, read, and come and visit. Just can't get online because I can't believe everything I read in the papers. I have to come down here and see what's going on. Barry can tell me what's going on at Cornerstone. I have to believe half of that sometimes. But I have to come and see it for myself. That's what I had to do when Martin Luther King came. He was telling me about all this stuff by entitlement and we got to treat each other right. Absolutely. I believe in treating each other right, and I believe we got to get out and work for it. We got to work for this freedom that we want, the freedom to vote. My great grandparents couldn't even vote. Now, what would I look like today not going out and voting when I turn 18 or 21, whatever the vote right? I've been voting so long, I can't remember what vote they did anymore. But it's something that I had to do for me. I had to get knowledgeable of everything. When I graduated from Bellevue University, my dream was to become a probation officer. I ended up volunteering for CASA. I was one of the first classes, CASA, Court Appointed Special Advocates for Sarpy County. I wanted to be a probation officer. I had to, Mr. Colonel does this too. I had to be in that courtroom, and in order to do that, I volunteered. They probably saw me more than they did the juvenile offenders because I stayed down there. I wanted the job. I sat and I listened. I learned. I became a juvenile probation officer. Ended up being an adult probation officer. I wanted more than that. Victim Witness Unit and the Diversion Services Executive Director. When I went to the county attorney's office to apply for the job, the first only question he asked me, how much you want to get paid? That's a good interview, guys. When you can tell somebody how much you want to make. In Sampson County is good, but in Sarpy County it's really good. But he has seen me work. You don't know me unless you see me around me. Cornerstone don't know who blacks are if they don't have them around. I said, something wrong, y'all got quiet on me. No. But you don't know me unless I come and talk to you, not unless you're around me. Don't always go by what Mary says. But unless I come down here and I talk to you guys and y'all see who I am, I teach your classes. I taught upstairs for a year and a half. But you have to be around me. You have to know who I am. You can't, just see me on 60 Minutes and know who I am. That's just one person. You don't see a race of people or a culture. If I had stopped at my grandmother's level of education, I'd be at the same place she would have been, waiting for that entitlement. But mama, there got to be something else to this freedom y'all talking about. And so what I had to do was get out here and learn. Ellen Burkowski was a chief probation officer here in Sarpy County, became state probation leader here in Nebraska. And she said one thing about us as when I started working with her. I was the most tenacious person she'd ever seen because I wanted something bad enough. I had to get an education. I had to volunteer, and I know how much money I wanted to make. My mother made $20 a week and fed four. My daughter to college, my sister to college. She was the first scientist in my family. Y'all eat lifesavers? Yeah. She was a scientist that put all them little things you read on the label, or you don't read. She knew all those things. Nice. Yeah. And she used to bring home all those lifesavers home. But she wanted something else other than what we had in North Carolina at the time. So she went to Bennett College. Bennett College was the first all black female college in North Carolina. And she became a scientist. My sister. And she worked for Lifesavers until she passed away. But she wanted that. She didn't want to be a teacher. That's what they told us we had to be, a teacher or a nurse. That's the only two things we could be, teacher and a nurse. I wanted to be more. Now at age 70 and a couple of days, I have owned my own business. I have flown the friendly skies of United, Delta, American, and the United States Air Force. I have been across countries, Belgium. I was in Germany before the curtain, Berlin Wall went down. I've been to France, Paris, Belgium, Wales. I've been across those eastern countries. I've been to almost every state here in the United States, except Washington State. It's the only one I haven't been up close to. But I had to learn. I wanted to learn. I had an eagerness to learn. I left here in 2004 when y'all had that major 2003 snowball. I had to go south. Too cold in Omaha. All my girls graduated from right here in Bellevue. From Papillion. They were monarchs. And I have taught them you can do anything you want to do. They have married, they've had their children, and now they're working in the job they want to work in. Mary's mother passed away here. She was working for Bellevue University. She had 4 college degrees. She wanted to learn. Best baker ever. She could make a mean oh, chocolate cake that make you kick yourself. It was so good. But she wanted to learn. She had 4 degrees when she died, and she would have been adjunct professor at WU. She did live to September that year. But I told my girl, don't think you're entitled to it. You've got to earn it. Good grades, stay in the library. I didn't let them date till they were 18, and that was at their prom. You could have all the friends you want over to the house. My house was wide open. We could have parties till midnight, but I was in those parties every time they had one. They did not date till they were 18 years old. We didn't watch a whole lot of TV. They were playing soccer and volleyball and basketball and out in the fields. But you wouldn't know that unless I came here and told you that today. Unless we sit down and talk with each other. You don't know about me. I don't know about you. I guess we can have some of the same things going on in our household that you have in yours. I guarantee you that. You're still eating dinner at a certain time. Your mother's telling you what not to watch on TV. I'm sure of that. So there are some things that we are different as well. But we can't make let all the differences in us into a state of dormancy again. You're gonna have to take that dormant. You said it just that's what I'm talking about. This band-aid coming off, it's gotta be ripped completely off and cleaned up and settled again. It's got to heal. And this country cannot heal unless we know about each other. Social reintegration, racial reintegration. We don't want sexual, racial desegregation again. We don't want that. Integration is what we want. We want to be able to do things together. Stay dormant, quiet all those years until we had this racial unrest this last couple of years. And now it's so bad, we don't know how to take care. And then COVID didn't help. I'm so over COVID. I'm so over COVID. Thank you, girl, for bringing it back. I've had my shots. But I'm so over it. Because again, we are sitting in our homes thinking of how many ways we can harm each other rather than how can we solve the problems that we see out in the streets that we can't get out in. So how do we do that? How do you do it as teenagers? Mine, I got more days behind me than I do in front of me. So I know it ain't my time anymore. But it's your time. So how did you as teenagers do that? You're seniors, getting ready to graduate. All these scholarships you're going to be getting in the next, oh, y'all graduate here in another month or so. Woo! How many of you got scholarships? So what are you going to do with it?
Oh, go into music education.
Music education. Then what are you going to do with that?
Help out low-income schools and put see it into people if they want to praise them.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I'm going to
All those Hispanics they're bringing into the country. Oh my God, you're not going down there, are you? See, you got to be able to address that. Yes, I am, and be very stern about it. Because this is what God has for me. This you can't back off on stuff. Because there's gonna be some of me playing devil's advocate. Devil's advocate. There are going to be some of me out there going to deter you guys from doing what you really need to be doing. How did you get over that? Because somebody had to teach me how to get out of that slave trade down in North Carolina in the early 50s when I was coming up to now. I had to get out of that. Because I could have stayed. I got a girlfriend who's never left North Carolina, never left the town we were born and raised in. And she just turned 70. When I go home and tell her I've been in Omaha, are there any of us in Omaha? Because she hasn't traveled. He hasn't seen anything. Yes, sir.
Oh, no, no. I was just. Yeah.
I got some more face.
No.
Okay. But how did she learn if she don't go travel? How does she not if she doesn't get out of this little corner of Roseboro that she's been sitting in for 70 years? Can you imagine being in one place 70 years and not going any place? Not learning about anything other than St. Thomas A. Zion Church sits on the corner of Gold Street where it's been all set over 100 years? You can't learn. And she got a college degree from North Carolina. She works in social work. She's good. I love her to death. We're both widows. God eat everything after church. But she does not know about other cultures because she hasn't been in them. And that's what you guys got to do. Y'all are leaving Cornerstone. Get out. Learn about who's around you. Don't talk about what we don't know until we actually experience it. I can talk about Germans. I can talk about Parisians. I've been there. The French. I've been there. I've sat down and had cheese and all that good stuff in France. Speak it then. I can't speak it today. But unless I learn about other cultures, I would go into a different cultured church rather than my African Methodist Episcopal Zion church because I wanted to know, how do you worship? What, are you talking about the same God I'm talking about? But I don't know that until I go in your church. My kids didn't know nothing other than New Life up here on the corner, uh, New Life Baptist Church, predominantly white. There were two black families in that church. I went down to Salem Baptist Church downtown. Good music, love it. But what were my children going to learn? Something they already knew or something new? You don't sit in the same culture you've been sitting in and expect to know what it is. Questions? Who else is going out and do something? Yes, ma'am.
I'm going into the youth field.
Okay. And
I have a few options. I really like physical therapy or possibly actually going through the pre-med route. And I want to be a missionary in the Middle East.
physical therapy is good. That's where real folks go. Physical therapy a lot. Anybody else getting a scholarship? Where you going?
I'm not sure where I'm going yet, but I want to go for music composition.
And you're going to write about it. Go to places, other countries, and write about what you see. I should have brought, and next time I'm invited to Cornerstone, I'll bring the book. There's, if you look at Amazing Grace and those old hymns, they were written by folks who didn't sit in the same place where they grew up. They went out and wrote about what they saw, and that's how music was written. I've been singing. My mother was a keyboardist. My daddy was a big bass fiddle player. I've been singing since I was old enough to say, "Look, Jesus loved me, this I know," and I said this, D-I-S, because that's what I thought. But we got to get out of, and go do things. Y'all are some smart students. I know Cornerstone, but you got to get out. Don't stay in Omaha. Go out. I'm going to marry and have 5 children. No, go travel first. Then come back and have the children. But you got to go out because our country is falling apart. And it's going to take you guys to help put it back together. It's going to take a lot of work. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. Question? Okay, I talked all the way up to 3:15, Miss Caesar.
That's alright.
I love you guys, and I wish you every success. And come to North Carolina. I'm near the beach, near the ocean. I'm only an hour and a half from the Atlantic Ocean. That's why I come here to North Carolina. Stay in the ocean every day. I love you guys. You're welcome. You're welcome. I didn't know y'all had twins in class, in the senior class, to the last, and I had to take my and ask them, "Are you twins? Tell me you're twins." So I didn't think I was losing it up here. Thank you so much, Miss Keys. I enjoyed this,
It's our pleasure and our privilege.
and I hope I hit what you need to.
Absolutely. I wanted you to say whatever was on your heart. So one of the things we're going to try and do as we walk through this is to seek to understand before seeking to be understood. I might be expanding your brains a little bit, maybe dismantling some typical white thinking. I hope so. Anyway. And yeah, I want you to be open to that. I want you to be open to see something from a different point of view. Okay?
Thank you.